In this video, I will show you how to create a custom Google Analytics dashboard in a spreadsheet, then publish it as a web app that you can share with your team members. All you need is a Google Analytics account and a dashdash account. Make sure to check out below for more info about how you can get access to dashdash. To get started, we'll first need to connect the Google Analytics integration and retrieve the view ID that we'll be using to fetch the data from. So to connect the Google Analytics integration, all we have to do is go to the integrations button here, click on it, look up Google Analytics, go to the integration, click on connect. This will redirect us to the Google Analytics website to authorize access. From here, you'll select your Google Analytics account and click allow. And with that, we've connected the Google Analytics integration, and all we have to do now is retrieve the view ID. There are two ways to retrieve the view ID, either manually from Google Analytics or within dashdash. To get the view ID from Google Analytics, you will have to go to the website, click on the upper left corner here to view your analytics accounts, and here you will find the list of the accounts, as well as the properties in each one and a list of the views in each property. So from here, depending on the view that you want to use to get the data, you will need to copy the view ID that is found underneath it. So if we were to use this one, we will now copy this ID, then paste it in a cell in dashdash. That way we can reference it in our requests that we'll be making to get the metrics. If we want to retrieve the ID using dashdash, we'll be using the list accounts analytics Google function, which by executing it, will return a list of the Google Analytics accounts that we have. So here we have the same 4 accounts that we already saw previously. And if we open this one that we previously used, we have the demo account. And then here we have the property that's inside of it. And then inside that property, we have the 3 views that we saw earlier. And so if we expand those, then here you will find the 3 views. So the master view, the test view, and the raw data view, each one with its ID here. And then depending on the one that we want to use, so if we were here to use the master view, all you have to do is just click on the copy button next to the ID and then paste it in the cell here. And this will automatically generate the necessary formula for you to parse it out of this object. Now that we have the view ID, we can start using it to retrieve the Google Analytics metrics that we want. Now, the Google Analytics integration dashdash has 4 functions. The list accounts analytics Google function that we already used to retrieve the view ID, and then 3 functions used to retrieve Google Analytics metrics. The page analytics and session analytics Google functions retrieve a predefined set of metrics each. The page analytics Google function retrieved the top 10 most commonly used page metrics, and the session analytics retrieved the most commonly used or the top 10 most commonly used session metrics. The custom analytics Google function allows you to define your own custom set of metrics that you want to retrieve, and this is the function that we'll be using in this video to customize our own dashboards. The custom analytics Google function has 8 parameters, 3 required ones and 5 optional ones. These parameters are the view ID, which we already retrieved in the previous section, the date range that we want to look up, a list of metrics that we want to retrieve, for example, number of page views or sessions, page path, which allows you to restrict the data retrieved by a specific web page or part of your website, dimensions, which allow you to break down the metrics retrieved by specific criteria, for example, by country or by browser. Sort, which is a list of metrics and dimensions that indicate the sorting order as well as the sorting direction. Filters, which restrict the data retrieved by defined dimensions or metrics expressions. And segment, which also restrict the data retrieved but by a specific segment of users and sessions. Let's say we want to look up the page views and sessions for our website during the first week of April. So we'll start by typing in the view ID, which we already retrieved before, followed by the date range between square brackets. So we'll start with the start date here, and then the end date separated by a semicolon. And then we will list the metrics that we want to retrieve. So here we want the Google Analytics page views and sessions. And you can find below a link of the complete list of metrics and dimensions available on Google Analytics. Now, by executing this, we will get the analytics object. And here, if we open this totals for all results, we will find the aggregated values for the page views and sessions during this period of time. To make this more customizable, we can list down the parameters and their values in the spreadsheet and then reference those values in the function. That way, we can easily change the values of the parameters and it would reflect automatically in the function. So we'll start by listing down the parameter's name here. Now we can go to the function, and instead of having static values here, we can refer to the cells which will have the parameters values in column B. So we have B1, B2, B3, B4, and so on, which will be the placeholders for the values. Now, by executing the function, we will get an error because we have two missing values for two required parameters, which are the date range and the metrics. So if we were to recreate the previous request, all we have to do is just enter the same values as before here, and then the page views and the sessions, and this will return the same data as we've seen before with the same values. If no dimensions have been defined in your request, then you'll get the aggregate values for the metrics retrieved, which we can also parse the same way we did with the ID, just by clicking on the copy button and pasting them in cells. And now we have our results here for the page views and for the sessions. If a dimension is defined, then we will get the metrics broken down by that dimension. So for example, if a request is made with page views as the metric and country as the dimension, then we will get the number of page views per country. So instead of having aggregate values returned, we will have a table returned with multiple rows. So for example here, if we want to look up the page views and sessions by device category, then here, if we open this now, then we will see that we still have the aggregate results, which include all of the device categories. But here we now have 3 rows for each separate device category. So we have the numbers for the desktop category, we have the ones for the mobile, and the ones for the tablet. Now, if we wanted to display this data in the spreadsheet, of course, one way we can do it is by parsing out every single value separately by copy and pasting them in a cell. However, with some requests, you can get over 1,000 rows, which of course would be almost impossible to parse out one by one. And we also want our table to automatically update whenever we make any changes to the values. And so this is why in the next section, we will discuss how we can display this data automatically in the spreadsheet using -- functions. After executing a Google Analytics function, when you open the Analytics object, you will find 2 sections here. The All Data section, which we've been exploring so far, and then a recommended one. The Recommended tab offers recommended tables that you can create for specific functions. So in this case, you could automatically create a report with your data. All you have to do is just click on it, and then you have 2 options here. So you can either choose to insert new data to the same table with every function execution, or you can choose to override the table with every function execution, creating a new table. We'll select override to create a new table. And then here we can choose where to insert it. So if we choose to insert it here and press enter, and then you will notice that this inserted the necessary override data function and the table below here. And we can even move this function by cutting and pasting it to the cell here. And we have our table with the data points. Now, if we make any changes to the parameters, so for example, if we just delete this table and change sessions to users, you'll notice that the new table is created automatically with the new data. Once we've created our desired Google Analytics dashboard, we can now publish it. That way we can share it with other people or with team members. To do so, we would just have to define the input fields, which are the fields where users would be able to input the data. So in this case, we wouldn't want the users to change the ID, but we would want them to be able to change those different parameters, for example. So we would just select those cells, go to the action elements part here and define them as input fields. And now we are ready to publish this dashboard. To do so, we would just go to the globe icon here, which is the publishing settings, click on it. From here, we could define which views in our app could be published and which ones would stay hidden. So for example, if we have multiple views, we can choose which ones would be hidden. For example, if we have the ID in a separate view that we don't want to show to the users. But here we can just publish it for now by clicking on Publish as App. And now the app is published and the link is copied to the clipboard. Or we can also copy it just by going to this icon here, which we will click on to get the link and go to the address bar, paste it there. And now we have the published version of our app here. This app will behave the same way as the spreadsheet. So if we change the queries here, we would get the same results. So for example, if we change the date here to get starting April 1st, for example, then you'll notice that the data changed here. Or for example, if we change one of the metrics to bounce rate, let's say, then you will notice that it automatically changes and it gets you the results. This could be useful if you want to share this dashboard with other people or teammates without giving them access to your dashdash account so that they can't edit this dashboard, and without giving them access to your Google Analytics account. If you have any questions or need any help setting up your dashboards, please check below and you will find information about how you can reach out to me with email or Twitter. You will also find information about how to get access to dashdash so that you can start building your own Google Analytics dashboards today.